I could play it real safe in this video. I could say, Sword Art Online boasts a powerful soundtrack and produces animated spectacles on par with the best the anime industry has to offer. You know, just to add nuance to a mostly negative video. Gay man! Gay man! I could constantly rave about how the abridged series utilized SAO's characters better by making them comically evil.
A quantum supercomputer calculating for 1,000 years could not even approach the number of f***s I do not give.
I could rant on and on about how Kirito set the standard for edgy, all-black wearing, overpowered and wish-fulfilling fantasy protagonists. That would be easy, and my credibility would remain intact. However, I'm gonna say something pretty bold. Sword Art Online is a lot deeper than a lot of us give it credit for. Yes, this is the same anime that made getting over being in love with her cousin, whom she treats like a brother, Sugaha's character arc. This is the same anime where Sinon says things, and things are said to her. By the way, this is the obligatory nuance I was talking about. However, it's also the same anime that Mother's Rosario is a part of. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, I'm afraid. What lies at the heart of SAO is a tale about transcendence. Fundamentally, all video games are deterministic. Let's say we're speedrunning Sonic Unleashed. I would have loved to use Mario 64 as the example, but as we all know, every copy of that game is personalized. If I perform the exact same inputs at the exact same time as you, we'll have identical playthroughs. This goes without saying, but it's because the developers designed an experience that's confined to a certain set of parameters. Unless you're abusing glitches, you have to follow the rules the programmer has set in place. Sonic will only be able to jump when he is grounded. Sonic will always die when he gets hit with 0 rings or touches a kill plane when falling. One would assume that similar constraints would function in Sword Art Online. After all, that is the crux of the entire Aincrad arc. The very strict and specific rules that govern a video game are directly at odds with SAO's entire player base. Teleport crystals, what are essentially the player's greatest lifelines, become inert when entering boss battles. Paralysis rids players of most of their mobility, making it a devastating status effect in battle. Losing all of your health in the game will directly result in the death of the player in real life. In every single instance these parameters are met, players are left helpless as they cannot defy the fate that the game has determined for them. Well, almost. SAO is known for having a very deep butt. That's because of all the ass pulls that happen in the series. Upon rewatching the series, I realized that some of the ass pulls aren't as bad as people make them out to be. I'd say the most egregious one was Kirito getting admin privileges when fighting Sugo, but I won't discuss that much in this video. The most popular searches I could find discussing the ass pulls had a few things in common. 1. Instances in which characters defied the game mechanics through sheer willpower weren't explained enough or at all. 2. Since SAO revolves around technology and not the supernatural, willpower shouldn't allow someone to override system functions, period. The first criticism I can somewhat agree with, but the second one not so much. Sword Art Online does include supernatural occurrences. Just because the series states that they're made up of a bunch of ones and zeros doesn't make them any less so. This is the series where a dead woman's ghost somehow materialized in a video game. This is the series where a mental health AI essentially gains a soul and is then adopted by the main characters, as weird as that was. This is the series where a man fragmented his entire consciousness across the internet and eventually possessed a robot to save his widowed wife. This is the same series where Kirito's soul was literally copy and pasted. If that isn't supernatural, I don't know what is. I mostly wrote this section to highlight the mindset I had when criticizing this series. I was harsh on it because that was what was popular at the time, and in the process, I missed the point. What lies at the heart of SAO is a tale about transcendence. the transcendence of the human soul. As I stated previously, video games are deterministic. When a certain set of parameters are met, the player is either permitted or prohibited from taking a certain course of actions. Then, how is it at all possible for someone like Asuna to break out of Game Master-induced paralysis? The power of love is not only cliché, but this moment came out of nowhere. Or so I thought. Earlier in the series, Kirito was also paralyzed by Kuradil. Players are given limited movement when paralyzed so that they can at least administer antidotes. However, that was of no use in this situation since Godfrey ended up being killed by Kuradil. It was ultimately the power of love that made Kirito move his hand to hold back Kuradil's blade just long enough for Asuna to save him. This doesn't specifically foreshadow that willpower can override system functions, but I do think it emphasizes its importance. If Kirito was not thinking about Asuna, he would have died. In fact, he should have died. Yet he didn't. Asuna should have been paralyzed, yet she wasn't. She still sacrificed herself to save him. SAO uses its supernatural elements to make a point. Being able to overcome deterministic systems through sheer willpower alone was a testament to their love and representative of the power of the human spirit. With enough resolve, you can defy fate itself, which is what the series champions in every single arc. It's also what makes Mother's Rosario so depressing. Yuki was a young girl who had to suffer as a blood virus not only wiped out her entire family, but slowly chipped away at her life too. She spent her life taking medicines that, while treating the symptoms, brought her immense agony. When her condition worsened, she had to be hospitalized. But no matter what happened to her body, she didn't yield. She volunteered to test out new virtual medical technology and managed to view worlds beyond comprehension. In doing so, she met her closest friends and decided to live her life to the fullest. Despite spending every moment of her life fighting, she still died. This is SAO hitting us with a sobering reality. The narrative set a precedent that a soul could defy fate itself so long as one had the resolve to do so. Yuki was such an optimistically charismatic person, yet she's someone whose days are more limited than most. Here, we're told that victory isn't guaranteed to those that persevere. It also is impossible for those that don't. Yuki knew her days were numbered, yet in the little time she had, she amassed the respect of thousands of people online, so much so that people that never even saw her in real life attended her funeral to honor her legacy. Even though Yuki's life was short, she still lives on in people's memories, and drives them to be better versions of themselves. In this sense, her soul continues to persevere. Someone who was just as important as Yuki in this arc was Asuna's mother, Kyoko Yuki, someone who spent all of her life working instead of living. She treats her sentimentality as a weakness and tries to force that upon Asuna. In the process, she lost sight of the relationships that were the most important to her. It's heavily implied that, to some extent, she didn't marry Asuna's father out of love, but to further her own career. Hence why, even during the holiday season, she visited her parents less often. Asuna had to confront her mother on her own terms to remind her that she's allowed to relax. She was allowed to surrender. Both Yuki and Kyoko demonstrate a pessimistic view of perseverance that both cautions us against it, while still reminding us why it is still important to have. When rewatching SAO, my intention was to see if I had been too harsh on it. Sure, it would have been a blast to just make fun of Kirito and his female accomplices all over again, but that would have come at the cost of not listening to what the show had to say. Hey, did we have time to fit in that joke about Klein's abridged voice actor being a piece of shit? No? Well, here it is!
Wow, it seems like being a bad person will make your reputation decline. your life will be an utter disaster.
저 정리체에서